And we're live.
Well, everybody, and welcome into After the Game with Todd Leary, coming to you, of course, from Yogi's here in Bloomington, Indiana, taking on number 8 Iowa today, a rematch of a few weeks ago when Indiana upset the Hawkeyes in Iowa City. And few gave the Hoosiers a chance today, Todd Leary. I was one of those. I texted you before that game ended and said, is Indiana going to beat Iowa again? And he said, yes. And you were right, Todd Leary. Welcome in. Indiana knocks off number 8 Iowa 67-65. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it proves it wasn't a fluke. It proves that they're capable of beating good teams, and it's kind of inexplicable how they were able to pull this off, because they kept coming back from being behind, and then they could never quite get over the hump, and then they got over the hump, and then once the second half started, I was so irritated to start that second half that Archie Miller didn't start the freshman, or at least didn't start Leal and Lander. That it just, I was just disheartened by it. And then Iowa came out and jumped out to that not big lead, but got a 10-point lead in the second half. And I just really at that point thought it was over. And I don't want to Debbie Downer this thing. It's awesome that they won. But I'm just afraid for what happens in the future when we're not playing against Iowa, who's a bad team, or a bad defensive team, I should say. They're one of the best offensive teams in the country, but they're a bad defensive team. And when we play against, other teams, if we continue to do that in the first 5 minutes of the second half, it's not going to come out as a victory. And it hasn't worked against anyone other than Iowa.
And it's kind of, it reminds me of a couple years ago, of course, Michigan State. For whatever reason, that matchup didn't work out too well for them. Yeah. But statistically today, if you looked at these stats, your starting guards, Al Durham, Armand Franklin, and Rob Finney, they go combined that stat must not be updated. I think 5 of 28 is what they ended. But when I left the arena with 3 minutes to go, I don't think Rob and Armand had hit a shot yet. They were 1 for 19. The freshmen, of course, come in and give some life to this team. The offense seemed to move faster when they're in, and it doesn't always seem to lead to scores, but at least it seems like it was moving faster. This offense takes way too long, too much of the shot clock.
Yeah, and I mean, we won. So look, let's be excited. I'm having a tough time being excited because I just know what the recipe is for the rest of the season. And if we play with that lineup, I mean, you don't have to play. I just would like to see them start a second half with Lander and Leal having the opportunity to play with Trey Saxon-Davis and Race Thompson and Al Durham, or whoever that third guard is that they want it to be. I would love to see them have that opportunity to play in that scenario and get some time and some rhythm going. I mean, between Rob Finney and they just keep proving the point for us, so I don't have to keep saying it. But, I mean, the production out of Rob Finney is laughable is not the right word. It's irritating. It's the fact that they don't get more out of that position. And he made a bit – look, Al made one – or no. Rob Finney made one shot in the game, and Armand Franklin made one shot in the game. Both huge shots. I mean, Armand's obviously to take the lead at the end. Well, Rob's was a three-pointer to tie the game back when Iowa had taken a 3-point lead with 2 minutes to go. So both shots were gigantic. But I don't know that they would be in that scenario if they would play. I think what you said is right on. Those other guys speed the offense up. Like, they get it going faster and get the ball moving more.
And they, at times, not all the time, but they at least look to score earlier in the shot clock. That is such a problem. I kept looking at the shot clock, and they keep milking it down. And there's at least 3 occasions, I think, they were having to just get off a shot. It looks like they're not looking to score. There's too many shots are passed up.
You can look at the, you could sit here and say the stats are bad. 1 for 6 for Lander in shooting. Well, 4 of those were with the shot clock completely running down. 2 of them were chucked up from 35 feet. So I don't know that you necessarily look at that, but also it's exactly what you're saying. Why are they getting to that point? Like, they need to get the ball. If there's 10 seconds to go on the shot clock, they need to get the ball in his hands, let him back it out, and let him drive and go one-on-one and see if he can make something happen. I'd much rather see him take a last second shot clock situation inside the lane or have a chance to dish it out to someone. And if they go back, I know they will, but they won't look at it this way. But if they went back and look at how the offense ran when Christian Lander had the ball in his hands, it's a totally different look than when Rob Finney has it. And, all of a sudden I'm sounding like I'm Debbie Downer on Rob Finney. I just want more production out of that. I don't think Indiana can win, enough games to get in the NCAA tournament. They needed to go 5-3 to finish the year. So now they need to go 4-3 to finish the year. And I'm not sure they can do that playing with that lineup.
There's a couple things that are glaringly obvious. When they are running this offense, it seemed like they were cueing the guy that they were going to pass to, kept waiting instead of it just being flow where Iowa knew where everybody was going to be. The pass was on its way, and it's like Indiana is waiting to take steps, and it just looks too choreographed, and every team seems to know that defensively, and they're right there to step in.
Yeah, and, look, again, let's remind ourselves, we won. Let's feel good about that. I'm just telling you, I think the reason why we both are kind of negative right now is because we never, at any point till the last couple of minutes of that game, once Indiana kept having the ability to come back, I thought they were going to win. But leading up to the game, the days leading up to it, even with the lead at halftime, I never felt like Indiana was going to win. Like I don't like the way they're playing. So that's why I'm so down on this thing. And we're going to lose people watching the show because they're going to think that we're just negative about everything. This is after a win. We should be excited. But I'm looking forward to, I'm trying to picture, I don't want to sit here and get all rah-rah excited. And then in the back of my mind, kind of know we don't have a chance of making the NCAA tournament anyway. And it just is, it's just frustrating that I don't see us building for, if I thought right now we were working towards next year, at least it gives me some hope into what we're working for. But right now, if you're one of the young freshmen and you're looking at the fact of, we'll just assume Al's going to come back next year, right? I mean, he gets the year over again. He's not going to the NBA. Why wouldn't he come back and play another year? So if you're one of the young freshmen, you can already see the writing on the wall. You're not going to play next year either. So I just don't. I'm just disheartened by that scenario. I would have rewarded these freshmen. This is 2 games in a row. I would have rewarded them with a start in the second half, just based on the way they played in the first half.
I want to mention Race Thompson. He seems to be the workhorse on this team. Yeah, he just works his ass off in there. It doesn't matter who they put in. Doesn't matter what the situation. I sent on a tweet. He just comes to work, and he does it every game in, game out. You cannot question his effort, and it's there from beginning to the end of the game. Trace Jackson Davis, I'm wondering if he's not holding back for the second half because he seems to play really well in the second half, which is great. But where is he in the first half?
Yeah, I mean, he's not holding back. I mean, first of all, and I'm the first person to admit this, the defenses are keyed and geared around stopping Trace Jackson Davis, okay? And the beneficiary of that is Race Thompson, and he's taking full advantage of it. But I will tell you, based on post moves, offensive post moves, Race Thompson is our best scorer. Like, you could take all the Trace Jackson Davises you want, but unless he's able to get to that left-handed shot, his right shoulder, he can't score. And Race Thompson could score going either way. He made a huge 17-foot jump shot today. Race Thompson is our best inside scorer. And the numbers don't show that because the ball goes to Trace Jackson Davis most of the time. And I will say, I think Race Thompson, I have been critical about the improvement of Indiana players throughout their careers. And we'll also say throughout the season. Well, I don't think there's any question that Race Thompson is way better as a player right now than he was when he started the season. And you give credit to the coaches, you give credit to him for working hard. But right now, on this date, there is no question to me that Race Thompson is the best scorer on this basketball team. And when they needed a basket at the end, who'd they go to?
Absolutely.
Finally, they realized it because this exact scenario happened against Illinois, and what'd they do? They gave the ball to Trace Jackson Davis to try to go in against Kofi Cockburn, and it didn't work out very well. Today, I want to say we learned something because at the end of the game, when they needed a bucket, it went to Race Thompson. And I give full credit to that because he is our best inside scorer, post-move scorer without question.
Iowa had Garza on Race Thompson, not Trace Jackson Davis. They had a freshman guarding Trace Jackson Davis. a little more respect for Race, obviously, on the interior.
Yeah, but hang on. Let me go to Mike Shapiro's comment here real quick. He says Lander's way better offensively, but Rob is way better defensively. You know what? In 2021, offense wins. Like, I'm just telling you. And if you have a team that has 4 really good offensive players, you can live with a Rob Finney struggling as an offensive player. But they don't. They have 1.5 good offensive players on the floor at all times. So they need as much scoring as they can possibly get. I appreciate the comment, Mike, and I respect it, and I agree with it. But in today's world, I think Rob Finney, if this was Bob Knight coaching this team, I think Rob Finney would have much better chance of being on the floor. But in today's world, in 2021 basketball, in this Big Ten, you got to put points on the board. And Rob is a better defender, but he's not a lockdown defender that's going to stop somebody from scoring. We've seen people score against him left and right. It's not like his man never scores.
That is perfect, because that was the very question I was going to ask you. So I'll ask, how do you balance that if there's a deficiency defensively with the offensive how do you balance that?
You got to look at your team, and you got to say, how are we best equipped to win this game? And you got to put up a certain amount of points. Look, when Armand Franklin was shooting the ball really well and scoring at a high clip, you could get away with having Rob play more minutes. But right now, that's not happening. And it's not happening from anyone other than Race and Trace. And so right now you need a third scorer. Look how good Indiana looked when Rob Finney had 18 points. I can't remember what game it was, maybe Nebraska or something, but whatever game Rob Finney had 18 points. Look how good Indiana's offense looked, because one of the guards was involved in the flow and making things happen. And when they don't have that, they look like they look tonight. And they won the game. Like, let's self-check myself again. They won. Like, let's be excited about it. They're coming to get so. Wouldn't you normally think this, Jim, that if you look at these 2 wins, you look at beating Iowa, you just beat Iowa at home. Indiana's next game is at Northwestern, who's struggling like crazy. Are you super confident Indiana's going to win that game?
No.
Nope. I don't think any Indiana fan is. So that's what becomes frustrating to me. I can't get excited. I can't call my Purdue buddies up and start talking trash all of a sudden now, because I'm scared to death we're going to lose the next game.
And their freshmen have really come along, man. Purdue has really developed their freshmen. But they've gotten to play so much more minutes. And that's the thing.
And it's not just Purdue. I mean, I said it in the last game with Illinois. Illinois has the little guard who makes all the mistakes in the world. Carbello, or I think is his name, or whatever. Yes. I mean, he makes a million mistakes and never comes out. He's not afraid to throw behind the back passes, lob passes, anything, because he knows he's going to play, and he knows he's going to play a good amount of minutes, and he's important. And I don't think Christian Lander has that same feeling at Indiana.
You know what? And Trey Galloway, beginning of the year, a lot of promise. Man, he was out there. He looks the same today as he did then, and maybe less. He's not looking for a shot. There was a time today he drove the lane, and he was within 5 feet of the basket, and he's looking to pass. Got to take that shot. And there's just too many times we talked about in the shot clock, but the guys are within 10 feet. They're not even thinking about shooting. They're looking to pass. And I don't understand that.
Well, I would love to give you a reason why that's the case, only I don't understand it either. So it's very difficult to even consider and understand. But I mean, you look at, I'm gonna be mean about it again, and people would probably, if they watch our show all the time, they would probably find this hard to believe. But I love Trey Galloway. Trey Galloway, his family is awesome. He has been the epitome of what you want to root for at Indiana University. And I think over his 4-year career, we are going to love Trey Galloway as a player. But right now, he doesn't produce or do anything. And what we're talking about, we need him to do is shoot more. That's literally all I'm saying he needs to do, be an offensive threat. And that should be the one thing that you would assume you would never have to tell somebody is to become an offensive threat. And so the reason I bring that up is because you've got Rob Finney, not an offensive threat. You've got Trey Galloway, who's become not an offensive threat. It just
that was becoming, Anthony Leal's mom right there, by the way.
Yeah, well, I wish she could go speak her mind and get her son back on the floor, because his 2 threes in the first half were gigantic. They're gigantic. If Indiana drives the lane right now and kicks it out to a shooter, I would love to poll Indiana fans and say, who do you want that pass to go to? If they've drawn the defense, and they kick it out to an open shooter, who do you want that to be? You can pick anyone on the team. Who do you want it to be? And I'll bet you 80% of the people are going to say Leary.
Oh, Iowa knew it, because let me tell you, there was a point where he was in the corner wide open. Their entire bench was screaming, and they didn't work because they got the ball to him in time, and he got the shot off, and he hit that three from the corner. They were screaming, and they know he's a shooter.
Yeah, I mean, look, the scouting reports are pretty accurate 99% of the time. I mean, he's obviously a three-point threat, and Indiana's best three-point threat, most consistent three-point threat. It's truly got to be a scenario. I am a coach. A coach is always going to be able to fall back on saying, well, they give up too much on defense. And that is the biggest bunch of crap in the world. Like, defense, no one in the world, you take the best offensive player in the world and you take the best defensive player in the world, and the offensive player is going to win most of the time. That's just a fact. That's just the way that it is. And so if you take a bunch of guys who are okay on defense, no one's going to stop somebody one-on-one. So I don't care how good Rob Finney is one-on-one. He shouldn't have to guard anybody one-on-one. We should be able to help and rotate. Like, that's what basketball is all about. Whoever creates the most mismatches and wide open shots usually wins. And we don't do that. That's not any focus of our offense whatsoever, because we're throwing it to guys who can't shoot the ball.
We'll talk about Geronimo in a minute. Jordan Geronimo, another good day for him. I'll remind you, hey, we're coming to you live from Yogi's, of course, here in Bloomington. If you're out and about, make sure you stop in. Thanks to the Finney Hospitality Group, Nathan Finney and Chris Martin and everybody. Kelly here as well. So Andy Moore Honda as well, and French Lick Resort Casino. Jordan Geronimo got some more minutes today, and he's raw. You can tell he's raw, but, man, he sure seems to be around. He was decent. He's a decent passer on the interior, too. He did not hesitate to get the ball into Race Thompson's hands, into some guys' hands that could score today.
Yeah, I mean, I think Geronimo's a very solid freshman. I think he's a guy that they're probably getting more out of than what a lot of people thought.
6 points, 3 of 5 shooting.
I mean, he finishes at the rim. He's a strong finisher. He dunks almost everything he gets around the rim. So that you always love that from a freshman, especially. And he's extremely solid. He doesn't make that many mistakes. His big body can bang, and they are using him quite a bit. I mean, he was banging with both Nunji and Garza on the inside a ton in this game. Like, he was battling in there. So he's for sure a guy who will continually get better throughout the years. But, I just wonder. Yeah, I don't know. If they can't get more output from the guards from that 1-2-3 position, I mean, I would love to be confident right now and think that we're going to go on a run and we're going to win 4 out of these last 7 games. But I'm scared to death to start to think that, because as soon as I do, I'm going to freak out the next time we lose.
What would stop him from just shaking the lineup up and putting these guys in? I know we watched it for 3
because
3.5 years he's not done it.
We last year, every game we kept thinking today's going to be, they played good enough last game. Today's going to be the day they shake the lineup up and do something different. And it never happened. Therefore, we're crazy to think it's going to happen.
And I hate to use Coach Knight as an example of something, but I just asked this question at halftime: how many lineups at halftime were different from your original starting lineup during your career?
I mean, it would be impossible numbers-wise to say every game it was that way, but I can for sure tell you this. In the last 2 basketball games that Indiana has played, the starting half lineup in the second half would have 100% been different. Like, there is no question about it. And some people, we talked about this last year with Joey Brunk. Remember, we talked about this last year so much about how Joey started a lot of the games, and then he would come out at the 17-minute mark of the first half, and a lot of times not even come back in the first half. Sometimes guys just are more comfortable coming off the bench. Sometimes some guys are comfortable starting, and you have to kind of play to that a little bit. But that's not the case here. That is not what we're dealing with. And I mean, I don't know. I feel terrible for feeling terrible about winning. Like, I just don't have any confidence in it moving forward. And this will be a good example of Archie Miller's going to have a strong argument against the whole Indiana fan base, especially myself, in saying, look, there's nothing we can do to make you people happy. Even when we win, you're not happy. And I will answer that and rebut that by saying this. Win 3 games in a row, and I'll whistle zippity-doo-dah like you wouldn't believe. But I just want them to put together a run, and I want to feel confident about what we're going to do moving forward. And the fact that we are so plain vanilla and started that same lineup in the second half, I have to say it just pisses me off. There is no possible reason for it that makes sense. I don't think very many coaches would stick to that philosophy.
I'm going to throw that one up there real quick since we're on that subject, because I already probably know the answer. But Christian Lander, he seems confident. He's not afraid to get a shot up. Leo getting there, but he only put 3 shots up today. Probably didn't have as many opportunities as he should have. But why don't they create or try to create opportunities for these shots? Because it doesn't look like they are. It's a lot of standing around, and if you happen to be open when you get the ball, great. If not, not. But there's no concerted effort to get the shooters shots, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I think a function of that's probably a little bit of the offense. But, when you look at Nick's comment there and ask, well, what starting lineup would I like to see? It's easy to start with the 2 big guys. Trace and Race, you obviously want them to start. And then at that point, I would love to see Lander and Leal get to play with those 2 guys on the inside. And then the 5th position, whether it's Al or Armand, or if you even wanted to start Rob in that, I wouldn't insanely care. I don't think that would make a ton of sense. But when he comes back, to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind seeing Jerome Hunter start in that position. But as long as I would love to see Leal and Lander get an opportunity to feel confident in knowing they're going to play 20-plus minutes in the game. And they're going to, if they had the same feeling that Rob Finney has, where it doesn't matter how bad I play, or Armand Franklin could not have played worse in the first half. He's going to get a ton of credit for making that shot at the end of the game. If they had not won this game, you could have finger pointed straight at Armand Franklin and said, you're the reason why we lost, because his shot selection was terrible. He was 0 for the world. He didn't do anything good on defense. He struggled. I don't see how he was on the floor at the end of the game, to be honest with you. And thankfully he was, because he made the biggest shot of the game, obviously. But that tends to wipe away a lot of the negativity about how you played in a game when you're able to make a big-time shot like that.
And how important, though, is it for that shooter to have that mentality that with the day that he had to be able to knock that shot down? Because if you're letting that other stuff get into your head, you don't make that shot.
And that's great. That is terrific. I'm giving him a ton of credit for stepping up and making that shot, for sure. But I'm just saying in my world, in the world that I've always played in, he wouldn't have been on the floor. He played so bad in the first 39 minutes and 50 seconds of the game. There's no chance he would have been on the floor to have the opportunity to make that shot.
So now you've got a gigantic win again. Indiana is 2-9 after beating top 25 teams under Archie Miller. The last time they beat Iowa, they followed it up with a bad loss. Now they have an opportunity here, like you mentioned, against a team that there's no way they should lose to. It is on the road, but this is a team that is just spiraling.
You catch teams at different times of the year, and I will say Indiana was very unlucky that they caught Northwestern early in the season like they did, because Northwestern was playing great. If they'd have played Northwestern twice late in the year, I think they'd have probably beat them both times. But the fact that Northwestern has – I said this – how many games ago did I say this about when I said it about the Rutgers game? That Indiana is people's get-right game. And coming into Northwestern's arena on the spiral, the downward spiral they're on, this is their get-right game. And Indiana is going to have to – I wish I was more confident about it. That's all I'll say.
Jerome Hunter did dress out today, of course. Didn't play, obviously. We're expecting him to be out at least 3 games and possibly more. How much did they miss him today in that game? Because you talked about you'd like to see him in there.
You could never,
Yeah,
you can never tell. I mean, what kind of contribution he would make. He's not like a super consistent guy. His minutes aren't super consistent either. But I'll say this: he matches up pretty well against a team like Iowa. Like Iowa, I mean, let's not kid each other. Iowa wins when they outscore the other team. Like they don't play a ton of defense. And Jerome's a guy who can knock down shots. He's shown the ability to go post up and score inside. He's making the mid-range shot a little bit. This is a game. If you're ever going to have a get-right game as a shooter or scorer, it's going to be against Iowa a lot of times. And this could have been a game that would have been a big one for him, a big confidence builder for him.
And this has got to aggravate the hell out of Fran McCaffrey to lose to Indiana as a top 10 team when the struggles Indiana's had as they look to their seeding for the NCAA tournament. This is a knock. You lost to Indiana twice.
Yeah. Oh, big time. Especially, like I said, Indiana's got to go 4-3 and split in the Big Ten tournament, at least win one game in the Big Ten tournament to even have a chance at making the NCAA tournament. So
yeah, I thought their chances were pretty much gone, but with these two big wins, you still have to win, though. At Northwestern, of course, you absolutely cannot lose a game that you're not supposed to lose like Northwestern. That would be a death knell. That wipes out any win you got.
Well, I mean, they've got to win 4 games of the remaining games. I mean, in all reality, I think unless they got crazy hot, the Northwestern game's probably that pivotal game. And unfortunately, it's the very next game that they have. Maybe fortunately, because they're playing pretty well. So you can look at it from the standpoint of, maybe they're playing their best basketball right now, and this is a good time to play that game. But you follow up this next game, Jim, with at Ohio State. I mean, they're playing terrific right now. You're probably not going to win that one. You've got to win Minnesota at home. You've got to win Michigan State at home. So that's 2 wins you've got to have. If you get Northwestern, that would be 3. And then you got to win either at Rutgers, Michigan at home, or at Purdue. So it comes down to those. So if they're not able to beat Ohio State at Ohio State, they're going to have to win one of those 3 games at Rutgers, Michigan at home, and at Purdue. And I don't
challenging.
I don't know any Indiana fan right now that would say one of those games seems winnable.
Well, it's matchups. Iowa's a great matchup for Indiana because, like you said, they play terrible defense, and it let Indiana hang around all game. I kept looking at the show. I'm like, man, they're letting Indiana hang around this game, and they did enough. But those other teams, they have so many different type weapons to come at you.
Well,
Purdue
the other teams. Here's what the other teams do: when the other teams get ahead by 10. You have a tough time coming back because their defense is pretty good, and you have a tough time scoring enough points to get back into the game. And Iowa just allows you to do that. I mean, they give you the opportunities to make shots and get back into games. You get down by 10 to Rutgers late in the second half, you're not coming back. I mean, possibly against Michigan State this year, you could because they're not very good either. But
coming up tonight at halftime of the Super Bowl, C.J. Gunn is making his decision on announcement on where he's going to be attending college. Indiana, one of those finalists. I think there's 5 schools there listed. He's going to make that announcement at halftime with the video. As soon as that happens, if it is Indiana, if Indiana is his choice, we'll have him live immediately after that announcement. That is if Indiana is his choice, by the way, though. Because if it's not, that wouldn't be too fun, would it? But have that at halftime tonight. But so Indiana now moves on. There are some positives if they're used, and that's the thing. I don't know that Archie's going to use these positives because I'd sure like to see the damn freshman start the next game. Just start, let them come out, and baptize them by fire. And there's probably no better place than at Northwestern. You got a team that's struggling. It's not a tough place to play. Man, get them some road experience. Great place to start them.
Yeah, and you've got an opportunity. The guards from Northwestern are struggling about as much as any guards in the country. I mean, Boo Buie, he came out super hot in his freshman year, and you talk about a sophomore slump. He might be the Wikipedia definition of a sophomore slump right now. I mean, he has really, really had a tough year. And, if you look at a guard having an opportunity to get things going now, Now, we're also setting ourselves up for enormous failure because if they go start him in that game and he goes off and all of a sudden he turns around, then we look like dicks for being the ones that got him going. So it's a catch-22 and all that. You know what? I would rather the commitment be made to say, you know what, for the rest of the year, this is the lineup I'm going to play until you guys prove to me that it can't play. Because, right now, Jim, let's look at it because there's no reason to not talk about the elephant in the room is if they don't play any more minutes than they're playing right now, if you were Anthony Leal or if you were Christian Lander or if you were any of those freshmen, would you come back next year knowing that none of the guys that are playing in front of you are graduating?
Well, and you look around the other teams, the freshmen are playing, and they've been playing the entire season.
And there's a free pass to transfer anywhere in the world you want to go to. Like, I've said that to a couple of people, and they've said to me, well, who's going to want them? They don't play enough. Christian Lander put his name in the transfer portal. You watch the amount of information that guy would get. He would get mail like you wouldn't believe. He gets snatched up before the day was over.
Well, fortunately, the minutes are coming a lot later than a lot of us would like to have seen, but they are coming. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see them start. Like I said, and Northwestern's a great place for that to happen. It's a game Indiana should win easily, but that is a place where I'd love to see them start. Bring Rob and off the bench. Let them get out to a hot start. Indiana's been getting off to slow starts. These freshmen come in, the first thing they do is insert a jolt of energy. We'll start the game that way and see how things go.
Yep, and you know what? Let's leave it with Jared's comment there. It's a great win. Like my comments today, I am cognizant of the fact that I know I've been super negative today, and I don't feel good about it. I don't like being that way. I love enjoying. I said it in the last game, and I'll say it, Jim, and I think this kind of means I'm a fair weather fan, which I can't believe I would even say because I have lived and bleeded and died IU basketball since I was born. But I don't like the way this team plays. They're not fun to watch. Like they won today. I wasn't excited. I wasn't excited about the way we played, the way we won. I'm excited for Race Thompson. I think Race Thompson is proving.
As a freshman.
Yeah, they made big shots. They didn't really have enough opportunity. You know what I would be? You know what I would be excited? Just what I said a minute ago. I would be excited if those guys played 25 minutes apiece today, and I kind of thought that was what was going to happen for the rest of the season, and it gave me something to look forward to because I'm not looking forward to watching Rob Finney play in the next game. And Armand had a great 10-game stretch of the year. But you take the beginning of his year and and right now they'll say, oh, his ankle's injured and all that. If his ankle's injured, then don't put him in. There's no excuses. If he's on the floor, he's fine. Okay? So you look at the very beginning, first 4 or 5 games of the year, and you look at right now, the last 4 or 5 games so far in the year, and his stats are terrible. But, I want something to look forward to and be excited about this Indiana team. And right now, I'm scared to death we're going to lose to Northwestern. And you shouldn't feel that way, ever.
Well, let's hope not.
I know, shut me up.
No, we'll hope not. But if it's true, though, because I just said they're 2-9 after games, beating a top 25 team. That's real. That's a real number. That 2-9. That's not 5-5, man. That's a big skew, but it's a great opportunity for them to get that off and get more minutes for these freshmen. Let's hope they continue to play better because they still have a shot at making the NCAA tournament because of these 2 big wins over Iowa. Hopefully they'll get to that.
But let's put it out there right now, Jim. Let's just talk about this because there's no reason not talking about it. Is if this team does not make the NCAA tournament, we all agree this is a total failure, right? Like there's no way you can say we're still in the building process or he doesn't have his own players or whatever it is 4 years down the road. Like that's not a thing, right? So we're all in agreement. If they do not make the tournament, then they should make some changes. Now, I'm not saying change the coaches. I'm saying change the philosophy, change the way that we play. I
think that change should have happened already because
I agree with you, but we don't get to make that choice.
Nope. Absolutely not. Well, let's see what happens as the next one comes along. But we got the Super Bowl tonight, too. So looking for who you got in the Super Bowl?
Kansas City, man. But the way, I mean, I'm hot today. Indiana wins. Kansas City's winning for sure.
I think it was Mike. He had a bet on Indiana, too, so good for him. Hey, don't forget halftime. C.J. Gunn is making his announcement of where he's going to attend college. If it is Indiana, we'll have him live immediately after that.
Does the kid not like the weekend? Like, why is he not watching the halftime show? I mean, I want to see the weekend.
Man, don't be killing our audience, man. Hey, I have to thank everybody as always. We appreciate you guys so much. The Finney Hospitality Group, everybody here at Yogi's. Place is packed. Great day to be out here having some mini corn dogs that Todd can't have today.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought it was an away game. I'm in Iowa.
That's all right. You can't have many corn dogs that I got, but I'm going to have those. But thanks a lot to Chris Martin and Nathan Finney and Kelly and everybody here at Yogi's. And can't wait to do it again. Everybody at Andy Moore Honda as well. So we'll be back tonight at halftime of the Super Bowl. Looking forward to it. Todd, thank you, sir, so much. Have fun the rest of your day.
We'll do it. Looking forward to the big game.
Thanks to you guys. We'll see you later on tonight at halftime for the announcement of C.J. Gunn. Until then, make sure you do something nice for somebody. Keep wearing your mask. Until tonight, I'll see you on the radio.